Hello, Dee.
Hello, Emerson.
How are you?
How you doing? Good to be here. Yeah, I'm physically horrible. Have a heart condition which makes my life physically challenging, very challenging. Otherwise, I'm very happy, pretty peaceful. Um, and so why am I here? Well, there's still something, curiosity. Um,
Yeah,
what can happen? What kind of a
yeah.
conversation can
So
happen?
tell me
Um,
your seeking story first and what got you here. We'll start with that.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
it's potentially very long. I'll try to keep it
that's
because I'm
okay.
75, so it goes back. Happy childhood, mostly very depressed mother, bit tricky, I was very sensitive to that. Um, Father was very scientific, and the surprising thing was when I was about 15, I had it was a Christian, I was in a Christian situation. I wasn't a churchgoer, but I was with friends who were on a holiday, and I had the classic seeing the light epiphany, pow, drama, very dramatic, beautiful tears, lots of hugs from everybody, Bibles showered on me, the whole shebang. And that was my first big awakening experience, I would say.
Hmm.
And I was talked down again by my father a few days later because he was very rational and
Hmm.
scientific, and well, that wasn't really real, and so I went with that because I was only about 15.
Hmm.
um I knew something. There was something that reminded me from being a little child of something, and so I guess that's when I very first started thinking, well, there's something more. Meanwhile, though, I was very much seeking on the practical level.
Hmm.
Went to art school, big art school in London in the 70s, was fantastic, very liberating. Um, Very, very happy. It was exactly what I wanted. I got married, I had a house, all the cats and stuff, lots of stuff, going very well. I mean, not, millionaires or anything, but just really happy and
Hmm.
content. But that fell apart, got divorced after about 9 years, and potted along on my own for a while. Got my own place, did all right. I was doing design work,
Hmm.
um, and not making my own art, but at least it was related,
Hmm.
working with color and stuff. And then um, uh, got, fell into a depression and a relationship with an alcoholic, which was a disaster in many ways, but led me to 12 steps because I joined Al-Anon,
Hmm.
and found again a higher power. It was a kind of
Hmm.
higher power connection,
Hmm.
very strong. And so then I explored Course in Miracles a
Hmm.
bit. I was still interested also, I was doing my art, I was interested in psychology as well. So I started exploring things like NLP and fast ways for fixing psychological issues.
Hmm.
I was always wanting to be quick,
Yeah.
uh, which is probably why I'm here. And um, got very into that, and got to a point where I was actually seeing clients one on one, working with metaphors and symbols, and uh, I had my art going on the one way on one hand, and seeing clients on the other. So that supported my supported me financially, and I was entirely self-employed by then. Um, Carried on with psychotherapy work for a few years, quite a lot of years. Well, actually, till I reached retirement age in this country, which is age 60, I think now, was then. Um, uh, but then I started to get a bit frustrated with working with people's stories, because I was now starting to get very interested in. I'd found Buddhism, but much too complicated and not long-winded for me. Very beautiful, but how what? um, However, I met a few. In London. There were, 'cause that's where I lived. There were some non-dual teachers. I met Tony Parsons. He led meetings there. Met Roger Linden, Nathan Gill, and Marnie, Jeff Foster. They were all kind of around in my life at that time.
Yeah.
And so I got very interested in initially Tony. I went to quite a lot of his meetings and one or two of his retreats. Very entertaining, very frustrating. And I got a bit down about all of that for a while because I couldn't get it. And then another friend of mine came across Rupert Spira, and it was when he just started talking about Advaita, and he was doing little meetings at his home in the countryside, and went down there, and it was lovely, beautiful, beautiful place, lovely people. He's a sweetheart. It was, and he's an artist, and I liked that. So I made quite a big connection with him. A lot of words. He uses a lot of words, but pretty words, nice words. So followed him for a long time, years, 10 years probably. And he's a friend. I would say call him a friend. But then I sort of switched over to Francis Lucille because I liked him too, but he was kind of more French and something just European. I don't know, just more a connection, a different kind of connection. And then somehow last year, I was kind of, this is all very well, but what is? I was kind of, I'm entertaining myself with all this stuff. It's lovely, but what's it for? And I knew that I'd had insights and glimpses or whatever you want to call it. I'd got it and lost it, got it and lost it frequently. And then last year I came across David Bingham, and he was providing this extra sort of stuff about invitations and how the mind can interrupt. And it is something he presented that in a way that I hadn't heard before. And it made sense to me. And so I started watching his YouTube videos, his one-to-ones, and somehow that led me to you. And so I watched a few of yours very recently in the last month. And I just very taken with the way you are and the way you work with people. And I like the speed of it. I've definitely had very clear clarity. I've had, there's been clarity watching some of your conversations.
Oh, thank you.
Nathan Hill did you hear of Nathan? He passed now, but he used to use the word clarity.
Yeah. I listened to him at one point too. Yeah.
Yes, sweetheart, lovely gardener, lovely
Yeah.
guy. He was a friend. We used to have chats on the phone,
Yeah.
just not about this, but just just chats about flowers and I don't know.
Whereabouts are you, Dee? Do you live in London?
No, I did. I'm now on the south coast of England, a place called Brighton, which is
Brighton. Oh,
directly south.
the beach area.
Yeah, it's a beach, Pebble Beach, which is just down the road. I can't go down there anymore because I'm not well enough. So that's
but you look
shame,
great.
But
you look great, Dee. How old are you again? You said
75.
You look great for February. 75. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, apart from this heart condition, which I've been told is incurable, and I just have to live with it, which has actually been a bit of a relief because I didn't, I keep going and seeing cardiologists and specialists, and they were all sort of, well, we don't know, and they just don't know, and there's lots of stuff they don't know.
Yeah.
There's lots of stuff I know that they don't know. I don't.
That's right. Yeah.
Pretty. So I thought, well, if you can't help me, then I will just continue
Yeah.
So I am, in a sense, seeking with regard to my heart and my physical health. It's not like I have any expectations, or I'm not kind of, if I do this, it will, provide a result. But I'm open to the physical shifting.
Yeah. Yeah.
In whatever way, I don't know. Anyway, that's my
Yeah.
story.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Well, thank you for listening to the videos. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, if you
wonderful.
probably heard my story, it's very, similar to all the seeker story. And I think that's what people can relate to me, is that there is just this, it's relatable, rather
Yes,
than coming from a seat of knowledge and wisdom and all that kind of stuff, which is
yes,
great too, but at the same time, but it can only take you so far, if you know what I mean. And
yes.
and this directness basically is just very immediate. It's very simple, and it comes to the bottom line is, what are you without language?
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's basically it, right? Um, and we can go a little bit more direct, right? For example, we as a seeker, we're so accustomed to hearing about the self or no self. It's one or the other. So which one is it?
Right.
Right? So, if you
Mm.
go to the more traditional self inquiry, awareness is more based on the self. If you go to Nathan and Tony and everything, there's the no self. So what's between self and
Yes.
no self?
Mm. I look, I will find.
Yeah.
And I know the mind is trying to,
Oh yeah, yeah.
well, I mean,
There's
I
always
believe, I
this
suppose.
there's always this all-encompassing quietness. And the mind makes
Trying,
noises, chatter. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like a static, it's kind of stuff, right? So if you're identified
Mm.
with the static, then you'll come up with stuff like there's no me, there's no self, still chatter.
Mhm.
Or there is,
Mhm.
this is all self, still chatter. Nothing wrong with chatter
Yeah.
because it's just chatter. Right. But if you see in between that, in that liminal space, then there's no such thing as a self, or there's no such thing as a no self. There's no me or no me. But you
Right.
can't even say that because that's just another mental fabrication.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of like art, right? When you're in that liminal space, when you are caught up
Yeah.
in the art, right? There's no thoughts really, or it's in between thinking and not thinking. There's just this
Yeah. It,
immediacy, right? Of, the artist and the art melts.
yes. It's just, it, it comes through somehow. It just flows. It flows.
It flows,
Um,
yeah.
and then there can be a stepping back into using the mind to think about how to mix a color,
Hmm.
or
Yeah,
something practical, to which brush would make this
yeah,
mark,
totally.
and then back again
It's
into,
between thinking and not thinking.
yes, yes,
And
it is.
that's when it becomes art, right? Like when if you heard my story, really I was about to have a panic attack, and then I'm an artist. I like DJing, I like playing piano, I like all that kind of stuff. But seeking has made me into this rigid, disciplined character that was also a rebel.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So at one point, I was this saintly figure. It's just a figure, it's just an image. And then also, I was this degenerate figure. You know what I'm saying? Also, just an image and everything. It's just all
yeah.
fabrication. And I could not
Mhm.
decide which one of that is me.
Right. And neither of them is you.
No, no, it's just all fabrication. There's an
Yeah.
alarm.
And
It's just
all you? Would you say it's all you as well, or is that also another
it's
fabrication?
between, it's between not you and all you.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It there's no word for what you are really. We just
No.
come up with words for what we think we are. But what we think we are is a complete fabrication. And I love talking to artists. I'm like, oh, she's an artist. It's great because there is this
Yeah.
quiet acknowledgement of what this is. It's an art. It's a masterpiece, basically.
It is. I think that's right.
Yeah.
But
It's
no one, I'm not making it happen. It's not me. I know so often when I'm painting, I point over there because that's what I do. Um, I have this experience of it, or especially after the fact. Where did that come from? I don't know. I don't remember doing that. Well, it's not like who did that?
yeah,
Or something I made a year or two ago. I'll see and go, oh, that's nice. I wonder who made. Oh, it's mine.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it came through. It came through this body, these hands.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't recall. I wasn't there. Something somehow,
You know
and
that
yet,
that painting with the David and the hand going like this, right?
yeah,
It's in what's
yeah,
between that.
right. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, that's lovely.
yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's what's between it, and it creates this union of something that's never been separated.
Yes.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah, I feel that. Feel that.
yeah.
That's lovely. Yeah,
It's
that's the
almost like a
simplicity.
remembrance of what always is when you get into that liminal space right in between. And as artist, you
Mm.
know what? I didn't even know that I was an artist. Really, I've always, well, when you're an artist, when you're a kid, especially in my era, in my culture, the parents always try to dissuade you from that. It's like, how are you gonna make money from that? Basically,
Same
I
here.
bet you experienced the same thing, right? So I was a good boy,
Exactly
that I
that.
was also a rebel. So I followed my parents' desire to leave art behind. I was illustrating at a very young age. I haven't revisited it for some odd reason, but I gave that art to my younger brother, and up to this day he still does art.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I ended up
It's funny.
teaching him
It doesn't
a little bit. Yeah, and
it
then
really
he took it
up.
further. Yeah.
Yes, lovely. That's beautiful. I had that experience. There was no art interest in my family. I was the only child. My mother would like to have done, but my father was very domineering and I mean, a lovely man. He was very
Mhm.
kind and lovely, but he was in charge. And
He was just a
um,
product of his time, you know what I'm saying? Because
and
man,
yes, he
during that
was. And it
time,
was
father was very domineering, right? So,
1950s, absolutely. And school was the same. No, I had no art classes at all at school. Uh, and it all came about because I was doing my A levels at a technical college and I was in the common room smoking and drinking and having cups of coffee and everything with my friends. And one of my friends was from the art school, which was next door, and she was doing her homework. But what she was doing was using colored crayons and pencils and things to make this pattern on paper. And someone said, "Oh, what are you doing, Lou?" And she said, "Oh, it's my homework." And I, whose homework was essays and a lot of writing and reading and studying academic literature and stuff, which was
mhm.
fine, but I just thought, my God, I'd do anything to have homework like that,
Yeah,
to what she was doing. She was
yeah.
just making these. So I hadn't even thought about art school until then, but I decided I'd already applied for university and I had been offered a place to
Mhm.
do psychology,
Okay.
philosophy, which
Wow.
I was in. And in the summer holidays, before I was due to go to university, I turned my place down. I wrote to the university and said, I'm not coming. And I told my parents, who went through the roof, and my dad said, I said, I want to go to art school. And he said, well, I'm not supporting you.
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't accept it at all. I mean, I understood.
Mhm.
I knew he was like that. He was
Yeah,
very cross.
yeah.
Um, so I had to work for 4 years. I did secretarial work for 4 years to get qualified for a grant. And
Mm.
then I went to art school. And it was fantastic because I'd been working in an office for 4 years. And suddenly I had this full day every day to be in this amazing place where, it's a drawing, painting, ceramics, everything. Anyways, so more story, but I understand, the whole how it still wants to come through in some form. So with you, it's the DJing and the music,
TJ, the
and with me,
music, and poetry. I've been writing
okay,
poetry. I and my mom reminded me that when I was a kid, I was writing poetry at a very, very young age, right? I was enamored with language and I love language. And I was, went to spelling contests and I even did attended creative writing, not creative writing, but oratory during that time. And she reminded me that I won that competition. I'm like, oh really? I'm like, I can't really remember. And
yeah,
and then we won a national poetry competition as well, at a very, very young age. And so
yeah,
this non-duality, if you look at my introductions, I go into that space into that flow of words and poetry. And
yes,
yeah, and
yes.
it's just been
I love that. I love words too, and my husband writes, and he's a guitarist actually, but he yeah, it's music as well. Um, we play with words, he and I
mhm.
together a lot. We do little
Yeah,
word games. I love words. Partly why I like Rupert so much, I think, because he's so precise and careful with his
yeah,
words. He creates what he said he wanted to create bowls out of words, and he does, I think. I love that. However, it can be very seductive and take you away from what's the essence.
yeah. And I
It's
was and I
talking
was feeling the same
around it,
way because I was doing the same thing. I was people would go to my meeting because they loved the words of the way that I was expressing it in a poetic
right?
way. And um but I was noticing that it was the same people coming over and over again, and they would just
Right.
glaze over the words and no one was leaving.
Mm, 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 mm.
And it was just, I'm like, am I just here to collect followers to
Right.
increase my status as a speaker or something?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
although it doesn't matter, or did I come here because I was very reluctant to speak, because I was already a spiritual teacher about 10 years ago, and then that failed miserably, and um it
Well, good in a way, but
yeah, yeah,
horrible.
yeah, horrible. But at the same
Horrible.
time, when I was given the opportunity, well, reluctantly, I took the opportunity to speak again because there was clarity and I didn't even want to be in the spotlight again. And because the first time was horrific. And so this time around, I found ways to look at every single angle, to take a look at ways in to communicate this. So first it was the poetry, and then no, first it was more kind of like an absolutist way of expressing this, so that it would snap, kind of like how Nathan did it, basically very absolutist. Tony, you know what I'm saying? Way of
Yes.
expressing this, and
Yes.
then it became a little bit more poetry, and I started calling out the words that people are using that get stuck, um,
Right.
as
That.
a belief system. So, for example, if somebody goes, "It's contracted energy," then everybody thinks it has something to do with contracted energy. The reason they're not getting it, or they're not aware of awareness, that kind of thing. Um,
Yes.
so there was just this earnestness and sincerity to get people out, because I went through the most severe kind of suffering that I could ever imagine in seeking. I ended up giving up everything, um, to be able to maintain or, you know, get this. And I kept on
Yes.
losing it, getting winning. And, it was just, and at one point I thought it was very performative what I was doing. And I felt like such a big fraud. And, of
Right.
course, that rebel, DJ guy and the saint, you know what I'm saying, were alternate realities. Basically, they're
Yeah.
personas. And
Yes.
so in
Yeah.
between that, there is this childlike character now that is neither that or this, basically.
Right.
And
Yeah. I feel like
um,
that too.
yeah,
I feel very childlike. and my artwork's very childlike. I play.
Yeah,
I'm playing basically
yeah,
now these days. I have a lot of, I've learned a lot and now I play.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
play. It's a play. It's a play, right? So if you want the break from the play, what what's happening without words?
Mm. It's, well, a word would be peace, stillness.
It's all just a play of words if you look at it.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, with NLP, I got very familiar with the whole spells and sleight of mouth and playing with words and how you can, how much information one word can hold and how the same word for different people is complete conjures completely different. Like you were saying, with a word like what did you say? Anything, any of the kind of spiritual words hold so much information, and one person will read them one way, another will read them another way. Just a simple word like dog or cat or you know cup will you'll have a different cup to my cup to someone else's cup. They're all, and that's just a really simple practical object. So when you start getting into more abstract concepts, heaven knows what's going on, to bring
Yeah,
it back,
to bring it back. Yeah,
to
bring it back into this clarity. Bring it back into the innocence. The innocence. We, as babies, we come here without language. So surely the language is foreign because when we
right.
leave, there's also no language. So surely the
Yeah,
words, the language is the fabrication, is the illusion. We're
yes.
so blinded with what we think it is that um we think that we think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We do.
But that's just a
Yeah.
thought, right?
I still think that I think I was very funny last night in bed. I woke up to go to the loo, and when I went back to bed, I was asking myself in between, I was thinking, oh yeah, I've got a call with Emerson tomorrow. Um, just sort of time checking, and it my this mind started going, what's in between, asking in between questions, because it knows everything. It's been here, it's kind of, it's
Yeah, yeah.
extraordinary. I think it's a, and it's very advanced now here, this one. It's kind
Yeah,
of
because you've
knows
listened
everything.
to all of the greats, right? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
time to come into clarity without any hierarchies. Throw away all the words, right? Because it's the mind is like a hoarder, right? So it hoards all of the great, intellectual, musings of Rupert, the clarity of
yes,
Nathan,
yeah,
Tony's, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Um,
yeah,
and it creates that. Why don't we go to a spring cleaning? You know what I'm saying? And then clear it all
yeah,
out.
yes,
So
yeah,
what are you
yeah.
without history at this moment?
Mm. Empty.
Yeah.
Isn't not even empty.
And watch the mind try to we've taken everything out the house like a hoarder show. The mind goes, oh,
Mhm.
that saying by this person is very important to me, and they'll take it back in again, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yes,
The moment that it comes
yeah.
back, you know what, again, go back into that clarity and saying, what am I without history?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good question
Yeah.
here. Whoa, that's a good, yes. Oh, darling. What's her name?
Ella Bella. Ella
Ella
Bella.
Bella.
There's a
Ella
fire
Bella.
alarm. They're testing fire alarms in the building, so she's a little bit
Oh,
anxious. It's so
mm,
loud, right? So um She's just like,
It's so lovely to see her. I've heard you talk about her. I have two very, very, very small chihuahuas.
yeah,
They're tiny. They're not here. They're funny. They're so funny. So sweet.
yeah. So
Lovely.
yes,
She's gorgeous.
so simple again,
So,
right? What are you without?
so
What are you without another
history.
moment?
Mm, mm. Doesn't want to stay here. Something doesn't want to stay here. It's right. It's kind of, oh, you've got, come back out now. You're supposed to be talking to Emerson now.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what it is, right? It tries to create a next. So what are you without a next?
Is she okay? I want to know about her
Oh,
now.
she's okay. She's okay. She's okay. It's a little
Good.
baby. She's um she had her what do you call it? I'm planning to spay her, but she's had her first heat.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
I've never
That's a
had a
good thing.
dog that had their first heat, so I got her some diapers. She's
Did she have all the dogs following her, or did you keep her in, or how did you handle that?
we used to walk at this park that it's an off leash park, right? So I was
Yeah.
wondering why the dogs were very interested in her, and luckily during that time it's that first cycle of the heat where she doesn't allow anyone, right? But now she wants to go outside all the time. She wants to mate now,
Mhm.
right? So her bleeding period is over, so now she wants
Yes.
to mate, right? So
Yeah. Andy.
it's such beautiful to witness that though, right? It's just
Yes. It's
like, oh
lovely.
wow. So we
We were in
walk
France with Don.
we
I
walk
was
in
going to say
areas
my.
now that there's no dogs, right? So I
Okay.
walk, but there's a lot of walking area where I am, so it's beautiful. I live in the city, but there's a lot of trails that you can walk to, a lot of nature.
Lovely.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said
Yeah.
you were in France?
We were in France on holiday when we had one dog, one of the two dogs that we now have, but we had the first one, and she was on her first heat happened while we were on holiday. And there were big French farm dogs around, and she's tiny. I mean, really tiny, even though she was fully, pretty much adult, fully grown. And so we had to keep her away from everyone, and it was tough, but we we did it. We were on a camp in a camper van, so we just kept her in there. And then when we took her out, we were just really careful to make sure, because we didn't have diapers or anything. We couldn't protect her apart from us protecting her physically. You can pick her up there very easily. So, you know, um, but yeah, it was a bit scary time because there were a couple of French farm dogs that were tough, tough, big characters, and very determined. I mean, it would have been impossible for them to mate with her. They would have just probably killed her. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So I understand the
Yeah.
and then the kind of how they become very sort of hungry for sex after that.
Yeah. Well,
The
I just when we walk, I just put on her diaper so no one can. It's like a chastity
Yeah.
belt.
Yes.
And I guess it
Exactly.
diffuses the scent, right? Because the dogs can smell her, right? So yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, their sense of smell is extraordinary, isn't it? Dogs.
Hmm.
It's amazing how they.
Yeah. They said if you put
Smell.
menthol around, right? So there's a menthol spray that I spray. But
Okay, good.
we go for a long walk still. So there's just we just found a different kind of like place. But if you look at a dog, right? Because we if you look at animals, they don't have thoughts. There's peace
Right.
there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's peace there. There's clarity there without words,
Abs-
right?
Absolutely.
And but there's still
They would just,
aliveness, right?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And they would just hold eye contact forever if you give it back to them. They
Yeah.
just will. It just, that's just beautiful, lovely. I
Yeah.
used to have cats before, dogs, and they're the same.
They're the same. Yeah.
Just,
Yeah. Me too. Me too.
just a different catty way, but they, yeah, beautiful, so present. Great teachers, really. Mhm. So I have a couple of questions around, partly around what you might know about, um, well, I suppose about deepening this. I suppose it's just to keep coming back to it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's between efforting and non-efforting. What's in between that? It's between doing and not doing, right? Eventually the doing just, starts melting and there's just a
Mm,
natural unfolding, a deepening. I just released a
mm.
video of a guy that I talked to 2 years ago, just earlier today. If you want to watch that, right?
Um,
So yeah. So I hear a lot of stories like people do reach back a year after, 6 months after, 2 years, some even 3 years after I did the first one-on-one, right? And some of them have become speakers on their own, right? And and some of them have just lived a life that's just really just ordinary, right? And it doesn't mean that we all become speakers or teachers of this and everything.
no,
Some people
no,
just
sure.
deepen into to their art, right?
Yeah,
And that's what it is. It's just a natural unfolding, but it's not a landing whatsoever. That's the biggest
I
misconception is when people think that
agree.
they've arrived at something, it's not a
Mhm.
destination. And it's all going to
Okay,
look completely different from each other. It's going to be unique. And
of
that's
course.
why I have released over 250 videos now of what this is.
Oh, really? That many?
Yeah, that
Wow.
many. And they're all
Wow.
different from one. There's no identical one basically. It's just to show that transparency that it does happen, you know what I'm saying? But it doesn't happen to what you think it should happen. And when we get caught up in the ideas of the teachers and speakers, that's their own opinion of what is happening.
Yes,
It's all going to be
yes,
different from each other, right? And that's why a lot of
of course.
people don't seem to realize that there's nothing to realize is because they're trying to realize what the teacher is talking about.
Yeah,
And if you look at
yeah.
teachers for some kind of consistency, they get stuck with what they're talking about,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Same. Yeah,
Same thing over and
repetition.
over and over again. And if you look at the
Yeah,
way that everything in this appearance does, everything evolves.
yeah,
So
yeah.
in the past, for
Well,
example, they would it would be more very religious based, basically spirituality. So you would have
yeah,
someone calling this, it's all God, it's all consciousness. And then as we progressed, the very last progression, I guess, was Tony. It attracted a lot of nihilistic atheists, basically,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Or people that are
yeah,
sick and tired of hearing, you know what I'm saying? They cannot seem to realize God. So they go the opposite way that there's nothing to realize. There's no
yeah,
God, there's no this, there's no that. It's like all negation, 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 negation. And then you have
yeah,
eloquent speakers like Rupert Spira that can talk about, the unconceptualized concepts, but they're all words. Um,
yeah,
and we're coming to a point right now that, you know, Tony was just an alternate marketing for the mainstream, if you look at it.
yeah, yeah.
And
Sure, I see that.
yeah, you see
Yeah,
that, right?
and they're all very entertaining and wonderful. But there's a point where it's like, well, I know this. I mean, and something like this. I can't even describe it, but it's clear and then not clear or something.
Yeah. Well, for the
So,
mind, it
and I
will
know
never
this is,
make sense for the mind, right? Because, we just think that
yeah.
there's a mind, but we just think that there's a mind.
Yes. Yes.
We just think that there's
Yes.
a we. We just think that there's an I, right? And it's just
Yeah,
so
we do.
simple if you go directly into what's between thoughts and no thoughts. Hmm.
Mm,
And you can't think about it.
no.
Yeah. So isn't non-duality unthinkable? Isn't non-duality
Mm,
unknowable?
yeah, it
So
is.
here it is
Yeah.
without saying that it's unthinkable or knowable in a direct way, right? So I guess what happened is I was in the background of more traditional Advaita Vedanta, and I did that for 10 years, and I didn't really see anyone getting out of it. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
beautiful, but no
It
one
is
gets out
beautiful.
of it. It's beautiful.
I've
It's
been there.
beautiful.
I I went to a lot of these things because it was just lovely.
It is lovely. Yeah,
Um,
it is
but
lovely.
I didn't get out.
But there's also some beauty about radical with what Nathan and Tony was saying. It's beautiful at the same
Yeah.
time. But I've noticed
Yes.
that no one was getting out of that too. I
No.
hosted all of those meetings with the radical guys, and I'm like, these are the same people that comes over and over again. And they're just now kind of like almost like in a cultish mentality that there's no me, which is just another
Yeah.
thought. Even if they
Yes.
say that's not a thought because it's something that you can't explain, even that is a thought. You can't get
Yes.
out of
Yes.
thought or belief systems, basically, right? And
Right.
so there's this,
The structure is made that way, isn't it? It's just kind of this. This is built that way. It,
yeah,
it, it's there's thinking happens.
yeah, and there's nothing
Does
wrong
it?
with thinking, right? Because there's
No.
people that would say, well, you have to get rid of the thoughts, but that's just still a thought. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
And then in this infinite appearance of 8 billion appearances, there's people that's going to have lots of thought. There's people that have less thoughts. There are people even that have no thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
realizations, awakening is the same thing. There's 8 billion expressions of this. Some people are going to have like a wow firework experience, right? And some people won't even have any fireworks whatsoever. The majority
Yeah.
of
No.
people is just a realization that, oh, okay, there's no next really for this fireworks to
Yeah. Very
happen
quiet.
to. It's very quiet.
Very
Yeah.
quiet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen that. Yeah. 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 I've experienced that too. But why? So why am I back here again now? Well,
Well,
still kind of
well, you're
that.
not really.
Uh,
So what's between back here and not back here? So the mind wants to create this. It's always making a case for reality, right? So that you
yes.
miss out on what's happening in the immediacy by
Yes.
thinking about the past and the future. Um, well, how will I get there? How will I get to where how do I speak like Rupert? Rupert has always been eloquent like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. 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 Unique.
That's his character. You know what I'm saying? It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with realization, right?
Yeah.
Much
Yeah. No.
respect. It's
Absolutely.
beautiful to talk like that, but all of a sudden when you realize you're not going to be speaking in,
Pots and bowls like that. He made that's what his bowls were like. They were kind of beautiful and
yeah,
pushed to the edge of almost falling apart. And
yeah,
that's what he
yeah,
does. And he pushes it as far as he can and gets
yeah,
as accurate and precise as he can. That's what he does with words, and it is
yeah.
beautiful. But
It's
it's
beautiful.
him.
Yeah,
It's
it's
him.
beautiful. Yeah.
It's Rupert.
Yeah, that's Rupert. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about
Right.
what's directly what you are. So what you
Yeah.
are, you know what I'm saying, is not what you think you are.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if you're not what you think you are, then your ideas about enlightenment is not what it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. That
yeah.
follows. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. So if you take
Yeah.
away the I, then the beliefs, the ideas, the concepts fall apart, basically, right? But there's no I to take away as well.
Uh,
so so what's in between this and not this?
can't.
Yeah. Because you
Can't.
might think it should be this way, and then somebody said, well, it's not that way. Then you might think it's not this then. So the mind will just keep on landing on two opposites, right? It's just going back. But if you go in between, in that liminal space of the opposite, there's really no this and there's really no not this. They're made up. So even saying just this becomes tired.
Right.
Because the mind
Right.
secretly saying, well, it's not just this. So you beat the mind at
Mm-hmm.
its own game by saying, well, what's between just this and not just this?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then bingo, you're there in what people are trying to say as just this. Not because not their idea, but you directly to it. It's just
Yes.
about being
So is this
direct.
something that we practice? I mean, it's not going to be a practice, though, is it? I'm going
No,
to the next now. I can do
no,
that.
no, no, no.
Um, so what happens? We'll just wait and see.
It's just a natural unfolding of what already is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the beginning, saying there might be a little bit of reminder back and forth, right? It's like, what's in between this and that? And then one day, and
Mm.
again, this is just a story, right? One day you'll be like, oh, I'm not even doing the in between anymore. It's
Just this, not
just
this.
this, yeah. Not even
Not
that, yeah. You don't even have to say
even
just this. You don't even have to say this is it, because that falls away
right.
too. Kind of like what they say, Rick
Okay.
Chop would carry water, right? It's just washing the
Yeah.
dishes, um,
Yes.
vacuuming the
Yeah.
house, or doing laundry, folding
Yeah.
clothes, petting your dog, getting
Mm.
irritated at your neighbor, you know what I'm saying, for being whatever,
Yeah.
right? The
Life
neighbor getting
happening.
irritated at you for you being too loud, whatever, you know what I'm saying? That's my case, because I play music.
I've had that experience of being had a very loud neighbor. We played, but actually our speakers were bigger than theirs, so we could. I mean, we used to battle with them back, because
Mhm.
they only had to do it once though, because our speakers, my husband's speakers are so loud,
Yeah.
so powerful.
Yeah.
That's his job.
I,
Um,
I I just remember the story. So I lived in this building at one point when I was supposed to be this enlightened spiritual teacher, but really I
mm,
was still a DJ. So I did not play music anymore that I loved, right? The DJ music that I used to play. And I started playing sitar, drone, Indian music, like a lot of chants, a lot of mantras, vegetarian vegan
yeah,
music basically, right? And then one day, and I'm like, what am I doing? I don't even like this music, right? Because I was caught up in that costume that we
yes, it
we
goes
put
with the
on.
role.
It goes with the role,
Yeah,
right? And so it's the end of the era of that role, of that cosplaying a spiritual teacher or enlightened speaker or a know-me speaker or whatever, right? Because what it does is it creates this fabrication. So if you're listening
yeah,
to someone that their whole persona is fabricated by what you think what it is, you'll never be free.
right, right. I
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because there's someone that's
yeah,
persona is better than you and you want to get to the next. Well, when I become like whoever, insert teacher's name there, speaker's name there, right? Um, there's a next.
yeah, yeah,
So if you
yeah.
go directly at that person, if you take away all the language and all of the narratives, there's no difference between you and I. There's not even a you or an I.
No,
This is whole.
no,
So why
no.
create a
And say,
separation by thinking that someone speaks more eloquently than you, or someone has got, there's a no me there, there's emptiness there. It's all language. And all of this language
yeah,
is is promoted by the followers of the speaker. Oh, he's so great. Oh, she's so
yeah,
awesome. Right? Let's
yeah,
get rid of
yeah,
that, right? And
yeah,
go into
yeah.
that directly so that you see this with equal eyes. Equalize it, not idolize.
It's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
yes. I'm with you.
you're with me, right? So
Complete.
the moment that you put
Yeah,
me off the pedestal, you see me as an ordinary bloke,
yeah,
right? That
yeah,
likes his dog and likes walking and likes eating a lot, likes
yeah,
dancing, likes running, right? then you're going to see that it's just the ordinary things, the most mundane things. It's not like I'm floating around in my flat, and um, blessing, people that passes by. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No,
No.
no.
Yeah. 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 But there is this clear seeing of, there is a difference between the seeing clearly and not.
But according to who?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I can see that's a belief.
that's a belief. Yeah, and again, it's just
Mm.
you're gonna see the undoing or the unfolding is almost like a very slow emptying out of all the things that's hoarded in, so it's out, right? The mind will try to bring it back, but it will start going away. Because the
So is
moment
there
that
a
you
difference?
see it as a belief, you're like, oh, that's just another belief. Oh my goodness, that's just another belief.
Right.
Um,
Right.
because the
So
last
seeing,
the last belief that I had was centered around God. It's around believing God and not believing God. Which one should I pick? So
right.
when the believing and not believing is simultaneously fell away, then everything became what I can't say is God or not God. Everything just became
Yeah. Yes.
that's
That's it.
it, right?
Yeah. And
And then the
that's
thought comes in again. What's in between that? Then everything becomes this.
it is really childlike, isn't it? It's really,
It is.
really
It is.
beautifully
It's like
childlike.
back into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like we're all just, perpetual children or child. And then we got serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why
But
I
yeah.
love artists, because artists has not lost that curiosity, because there's
No.
always this in betweenness, right? And
Yes. I
like
mean, this artist did
I
get
play the piano, right? And I love playing piano now because I don't have an audience anymore.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
wonderful. Just
Yeah.
playing.
I'm just playing, right?
Yes.
Because did when we
Yes.
we played before, did we seek an audience? No. We just
No.
played. Right? It's
Yeah.
just curiousness. And that's the same thing with artists, right? When they're doing a painting, the most successful artist is that when you are just doing things because they're just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
art is expressing art. All that it can do is express art because it's art itself.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
It is. Yeah.
Gorgeous. I feel very blessed that I found art, and I just I mean, it can be really, really challenging at times, especially if to make a living from
Oh my
art.
goodness. Yeah. Yeah.
But I'd rather do this than anything else, and I still do it.
Likewise.
I manage about an hour a day now, before my energy runs out in here.
Yeah.
Um, but I love it.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah. I could
love
be
it.
doing something that made me so much more money, right?
Yeah,
If this was a money thing, right? But this is a love thing. I
yes,
don't I
I
don't
know.
even have a day off. It's so funny, right? I love
You
doing what
just
I do, that I like making myself very accessible, right?
yeah, I get that. I really get that.
Like talking
I
to
was
you,
even like,
saying it's so great. It's to meet an artist, right? So it's just
yeah,
it's
good.
just this constant flow. It's just this flow. And it's
Yeah,
always evolving if you look at art, right? So the way that I speak about this has never stopped evolving. Maybe next time I'll
right.
just wink and then I'll just snap, and do a little body
Yeah, yeah.
because it can't be expressed in words, right? So maybe I'll just do this.
That's it. That's it. That's what's coming through so strong, is that they like clear all that out, and what we got left without words. It's thank you. That really, I just so yeah, yeah. I just look if I got another question
Go
before we
ahead,
go, because
please.
uh, I don't know if I have. Oh yeah, something about. So talking about art and visual, and also I did a lot of work with people exploring their sort of internal metaphors and symbols and representations internally of situations. And so they would use words, yes, but if you took the words away in that situation, I would get them to map out their issue, whatever it was, try and take the words off, or treat the words as spells because they had a lot of meaning. What I discovered was that there would be a lot of visual. So when you take the words away, what's left with eyes closed here are quite often visual impressions, a bit like dreaming, but awake. But I suppose there's nothing. I was just wondering what's your experience with that? And
Well, there's something that's like can never really be expressed fully, right? And everything is an interpretive art. Our medium is language. It's our brushstrokes and try to interpret this masterpiece. But this masterpiece is silent and it's loud simultaneously. It's moving
Mhm.
and it's still at the same time, right? So, um, and I love that you do that, like of trying to express this, but really is there an inside or an outside with that language?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I found that very often people's information that they thought was in their head isn't. It's out here. It's out in this space. People would talk about something, and they point to, it's over here. Well, what's over here? Oh, this is where this happened. Well, this is where my sister is. Well, I'm talking about my sister. She's here. She's not in here. It's
No, no, no. Yeah. So
information. So like there isn't an inside and an outside.
there's no inside outside. There's no you and I. There's, not even what I say makes sense because all of the tools that we have is like a magic one that doesn't exist.
Right, right.
Yeah. So it's all
Yeah.
magic, basically.
Yes, that's it.
It's all
It is.
magic, right? And if we treat everything as just all magic or all for entertainment purposes only, then the seriousness starts falling away. And there's just an
Yeah,
easiness into this narrative of time happening to you and I. And then the timeless starts showing up more predominantly. Something that is inexplicable, right? Not something magical as a thought and everything, but beyond thought. Like the quietness, for
right.
example, this morning walking for in a really really quiet street, right? And then it noticed as I was walking that there were tree houses everywhere. Like really really
Ah,
elaborate tree houses everywhere, right?
oh,
And then the imagining will say that oh wow, what is this? And then you look at it, and the more intricate, the more grand it was, right? Epic. There's something epic when the word starts falling away, right? And
yeah,
there's the vision of field becomes a bit wider. It's almost like your palette, for your art becomes infinite.
lovely.
Yeah. And it's just the artist,
Yeah.
the artist that is just, it's an art. It's a masterpiece.
Mm, mm, mm.
I'm going to
Yeah.
end it with that and I'll stop.